As the sun has set here at the Yas Marina Circuit, so too does it on the 2023 season. This is our final race of the year, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the stage for our teams to do battle one last time. Every point vital. Welcome to our last weekend warm-up of the year. Hello, a warm welcome down here to the beautiful Yas Marina Circuit. Behind us, the W Hotel, resplendent, and the paddock just over there to my left-hand side. Welcome to Will Buxton, to Lawrence Barretto, and to Jolyon Palmer, who's made a triumphant return to F1 TV for our final race. Jolyon, coming to you first. How are you doing? How much are you excited for this one?
I'm pleased that it's already been declared a triumphant return. We're off to a great start. Always good to be back. And I quite like Abu Dhabi. It's spectacular, isn't it? Really nice setting. It's a glamorous place for a finale.
Yeah, it's a really lovely way to end the season, isn't it? In the nice, warm, sunny climate. I was about to say, and we don't have too much of a time difference to account for, but clearly I'm still jet lagged. Of course, Las Vegas just a week ago. Lawrence, how are you doing? How much are you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, really good. I think Abu Dhabi's so familiar that when you come here, you know it's the final race of the season, so it kind of lifts everyone's spirits, even if you are feeling really jet lagged from Las Vegas. So there is that kind of end of school feeling, and it was right there today throughout the paddock.
Yeah, it really was. I have to say, our office earlier on in preparing for weekend warm, it was absolutely like the last day of school. Jolyon had his report card out marking the season and the drivers and various sort of features of Formula One. You were literally throwing sweets around the office, Will. You're excited for our final race, aren't you?
I'm just trying to stay awake, mate. I've got to be honest with you. What an incredible week in Las Vegas, and then we get to come here. We've been coming for a decade and a half. It's, this place really set the tone for all the circuits that were to come afterwards, and kind of the last decade and a half of what Formula One was going to turn itself into. It's a spectacular place for a race. Nowhere really does it like here. It's the gold standard. So excited for it. I'm actually really excited for FP1 because half the grid is going to be unfamiliar with Formula 2 drivers. Patricio Award, who's obviously IndyCar driver and announced today as a McLaren reserve for next year. Half of them we won't know from this season in Formula One, so a great opportunity to see the next generation of talent. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to rattle through that list very quickly, we've got Pato Award for McLaren. I'm going to have to read it because it is 10 drivers. We've got Zach O'Sullivan in at Williams. We've got 2 Red Bull drivers, Jake Dennis and Isaac Hajar. We've got Fred Vesti in for Mercedes, of course, going for that F2 title alongside Théo Pourchaire, who is in for Alfa Romeo. We've got Ollie Behrman in the Haas. We've got Jack Doohan, friend of the show, in for Alpine. We've got Felipe Drugovich in at Aston Martin. Schwartzman, another friend of our show, for Ferrari. And I think that is just about it. There we go, Will. We're over. Jolyon, as it is your first weekend warm-up back, we're delighted to have you. We are going to give you the absolute honour of recapping the Las Vegas Grand Prix in 60 seconds. And I have to say, you have an advantage as a commentator. Let that be known and noted now. And a 3, 2, 1, off you go.
Well, the good thing was, Las Vegas was an incredible Grand Prix. We had Charles Leclerc on pole position, we had Verstappen alongside him, and no one knew what level of grip there was going to be or anything at the start. And so it proved. We had loads of drivers running straight on at the first corner. There was a fight for the lead between Max and Charles. Max came through on the inside, forced Charles off, and ended up getting a 5-second penalty. But behind that, Fernando Alonso went spinning. We had Bottas damaging his front wing, Perez damages his front wing as well. And then we had more racing action then. Charles Leclerc coming past Verstappen. Verstappen got the 5-second pen. Came back through the field, fighting with George Russell. Bit of contact between those two, and Russell picked up a 5-second pen for that one. Perez and Leclerc then did battle a couple of times. Brilliant scraps between those two. Max came swamping past both of them and came through to take the win. But there was still more dicing to be done between Leclerc and Perez. Leclerc's mistake meant he fell behind again, but on the very last corner, went for a dramatic lunge. And it was beautiful stuff. So Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez was the top 3. Behind that, really good drive from Esteban Ocon, who was out in Q1, came back through. And Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz recovering for 6th after a very unlucky weekend.
Wow. Calm, cool, collected, exactly what we expect from Jolyon Palmer. Thank you very much. That was
Triumphant
excellent.
return. There we go.
There you go.
Cemented.
Absolutely. Very much so. Will, best race of the season so far? I mean, we had a bona fide race for the lead, didn't we? Changing position all the time.
For me, hands down. And I was shocked because I did the stupid thing and looked on social media afterwards. And there were so many people going, oh, that was dull. If that was dull and that was boring, give me a dull, boring race every single week. The most on-track passes in a dry race since 2016. I think Lewis Hamilton made up 15 positions in the race, or put on 15 passes in the race. And it wasn't just to fight for the lead. There were fights all the way through the field, brilliant overtakes, some with DRS, some without DRS. I absolutely loved it, and I'm not talking about the glitz and the glam and the celebs around the show. The race itself was absolutely brilliant. Okay, Max Verstappen won, but it was how that victory was won. I thought it was a great race. It's what you want to see.
It doesn't get much better. It doesn't get much better. I think there were 5 or 6 moves for the lead on track. You had Verstappen against Leclerc twice, then Perez against Leclerc, then Verstappen back through on Leclerc, then you had the fight for second going out to the last corner, and then there's loads of scrapping further back with drivers out of position. It was an amazing race.
If that's not what you want from Formula One, I don't know what you want from Formula One, because it was brilliant. It was a great race.
Yeah, it really was, and the weekend really needed it as well, didn't it? Lawrence, coming to you now on Sergio Perez. He secured P2 in the championship with that podium, of course, outscoring Lewis Hamilton. Yes, Max got the win. He had to fight for it, but for Perez, that was really important, wasn't it?
I think he breathed a huge sigh of relief, frankly, because I think P2 was the bare minimum he should have got with a car that's won all but one Grand Prix this year. He was under significant pressure after the summer break. There was lots of chat about Ricciardo. Might he take his seat at the end of this season? Maybe he'll take that seat midway through next season. So there was all of that kind of building up, and Checo, to be frank, wasn't really dealing with it very well. He's lost a position on the last lap of the last 2 Grand Prix. He's still got P2 in the Drivers' Championship, and I guess I don't know how much that is to celebrate. He's happy, he's the job done, but I think he'll be disappointed that was such a massive gap back up to Max Verstappen.
Well, let's hear it from Sergio Perez now.
Checo, P2 in the championship, which was the objective all along. How good does that feel for you, for the team, given it's the first time in their history they've ever achieved it?
It's obviously a great result, because I always say, I've been a lot of years in Formula One, and it only matters where you finish in Abu Dhabi. It's the only thing people will remember. So from that perspective, it's a very nice achievement. I'm obviously aware of the few bad weekends we had and the reasons for it. I think we managed to understand a lot by now, so I'm certainly a lot happier with my year than I was a few months ago, and more than that, with the learning and the progress we made as a team in our side of the garage. I think I'm really happy with it, and just looking forward to finish our year with a strong result.
And what about that drive in Vegas? It was so reminiscent of your first win in the pit lane, changing the front wing, end of the first lap, P last, and then fighting for the win the whole way. What is it about those races that just come to you?
It just came, It's all about not giving up. You're obviously wanting to maximize and just give it all, regardless of the result. Sometimes you do that sort of race, but the result it's insignificant. But it's always just important as a driver to never give up and give it all until the last lap, because that's the way I am. That's the only way I can go happy, regardless of the result, And it was a good team effort. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to win it in the end. I think we had a little bit too much wind on my car once we took the lead, and that just made it a little bit harder for us.
It was a great fight from Sergio Perez in Las Vegas, and we can't underestimate the pressure he has been under as well. It was a brilliant last lap lunge from Charles Leclerc too, but Jolyon, you sort of noted the last 2 results for Sergio Perez as something special in perhaps not the way he wants.
Well, first of all, they've been 2 really good drives, but I actually can't remember losing a podium position, a significant position on the last lap. It's pretty rare. To do that twice at 2 races in a row, to lose a second and a third, is pretty much unheard of. So it was a great lunge, though, from Charles, and I think that's the thing. Checo just was not expecting that.
Yeah, it's got a sting, hasn't it? What can Red Bull do here, do you believe, Will?
Win. As they've done pretty much everywhere we've gone. I'd love to see Checo top the season out with a win.
Yeah.
I think he's deserved it. The car has gone away from him through the middle of the season, and it looks like he's getting back on terms with it again. Christian Horner said that the Checo they wanted to see was back in Brazil. He still finished 35 seconds behind Max Verstappen, and I don't want to dig him out and give him a hard time. He's a phenomenal driver. He's a brilliant driver. But this second place should have been put to bed months ago. And the fact that it wasn't shows, I think, what a difficult season Sergio has had. So the questions will remain. They will always remain for as long as Red Bull has a B team, whose sole stated aim is to put drivers in the A team. There will always be questions over that second seat. Max isn't going anywhere. But there will always be questions over that second seat. So I'd love it. As Sergio said to me, you're only as good as your last race. And I'd love to see him win it. I would love that for him. I think it would be great.
It'd be a special way to round off
Yeah.
what's been a pretty tough year, absolutely. Lawrence, coming to you. P2 in the driver standings well and truly wrapped up. Red Bull are 1-2 for the first time in their history. P2 in the constructors standings, though, up for grabs. Just 4 points in it with a great result for Ferrari last time out. Not so brilliant for Mercedes. This will go down to the wire, won't it? It's exciting.
Yeah, it's great to see how Ferrari have really cut back into that Mercedes lead. I think it was 55 points around 10 races ago. It's down to 4 heading to this track, and it's Ferrari who've really got the momentum at the minute. They've had a win and 4 other podiums. Mercedes have had 2 podiums in that kind of run of form, so they've definitely got the momentum. And this circuit should probably suit them a little bit better than Mercedes. I think what's interesting is you've probably got Red Bull and McLaren as the top 2 teams here. So what will ultimately happen is Ferrari and Mercedes might end up just fighting for the slightly smaller positions. And ironically, that might actually help Mercedes because obviously the gap between the positions is slightly smaller.
Jolyon, moving on to Mercedes then, how do you think they'll fare here? In terms of suiting the track?
It's basically qualifying pace v race pace for those guys, isn't it? The Ferraris will qualify well. They'll probably qualify ahead of Mercedes, but they will have more degradation as well. And I agree with Lawrence. You know, the Red Bulls are going to be, well, Max is going to be pretty tough to beat this weekend. I do expect McLaren to be back there. So maybe it's a sniff of a podium for Mercedes or for Ferrari. I think circumstances have been against Mercedes the last couple of races. The sprint conditions certainly haven't been good for them with the DQ for Lewis. I know Charles had one in Austin as well. But then also Brazil, that sprint was awful because they went the other way, raised the ride height, went very conservative and were just woefully slow. So I think 3 practices will be good for Mercedes. I think they'll have a decent race car. And it will really depend on Ferrari's degradation, probably. The drivers, I'd say that we're splitting hairs. There's nothing between the 4 of them.
It's the ebb and flow, isn't it? Because if Charles hadn't retired in Brazil, there could be so many more points for Ferrari, and it could be Mercedes trying to catch that gap up. But then if Lewis hadn't had that puncture in Vegas, I think he might have been in with a sniff of fighting for that podium as well. It's great to see the fight.
And George with the 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
That really cost Mercedes. So there's enough, you know, you look at Carlos not even starting in Qatar.
Yeah.
They're 2 teams that have thrown away 1 car in pretty much all of the last races. So it'll probably be that decides it. Whoever finishes with 2 strong results here will take second.
Nip and tuck, isn't it?
That's
I'm
great.
sure Lewis Hamilton is more than up for the fight here in Abu Dhabi. Let's hear it from him now.
Lewis, here we are, final race of the season. There's just a couple of points in it between you guys and Ferrari. Does that give you extra motivation to just carry it through all the way to the checkered flag this year?
I mean, I wish we weren't in the position we're in. I wish we were where we had been for, you know, that nice margin for a period of time. But I guess it means we've got to work harder this weekend, and I'm definitely excited for the battle. I don't know what we'll be able to achieve. Ferrari are often quite quick here, but yeah, I'm definitely hopeful.
Some comments out of Christian Horner this week that apparently you approached him earlier this year with an eye to moving at Red Bull. Any truth in those comments?
I have not approached Christian. I haven't spoken to Christian for years. And no one from my team has, I've checked with everyone. No one from my team has reached out to him. However, he had reached out to me earlier in the year about meeting up at the end of the season. And I was like, hope you're well, wish you all the best, and congratulations on an amazing season so far, and I hope that I'm able to compete with you in the near future. And so, yeah.
Well, he's more than putting that rumour to bed, isn't he, Will? You enjoyed that one, speaking to him?
It's great, isn't it? It's he said, she said, and then he started it, and it's great, you know. Who knows? Who knows?
Why wouldn't you speak to Red Bull if you're Lewis, though? I know he's won all the championships with Mercedes. They're up the road. They have the best car by a mile. They probably will next year have the best car. I know Lewis is obviously putting his eggs in Mercedes' basket now. Surely you'd sound them out. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm sure he's not. But it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Who started it? Did Christian contact Lewis? Did Lewis contact Christian?
But if you're any driver that's out of contract at the end of this year, which Lewis was, surely everyone's knocking on the door and having the conversation. How good would it have been if we're looking at next year, Red Bull had the best car, it's Max against Lewis? Would have been iconic.
Goodness.
Hopefully they'll be there in the Mercedes and Red Bulls and it'll be like 21 again. But I just think with these things, a conversation doesn't mean all that much, but it just means drivers, they should be knocking on the door of the best team and saying, is there a chance? Obviously, Lewis is happy to just stick with Mercedes where he's won, and there's loyalty there and trust there, but he's not won a race for 2 years. I'm surprised if they wouldn't have tried to have a conversation.
We'll leave it there. The rumours will continue to swirl, I'm sure, as they do in the Formula One world.
I'm just loving the idea.
Can you imagine?
Of a Max and Lewis lineup. It was like, you know, that potential of when Seb was going to leave Ferrari. I remember asking Toto, you know, have you spoken to Seb? Would you just throw him in for a year, 1 year, Seb and Lewis in the same car? It would just be mega, wouldn't it? You know?
Imagine managing it. Lewis and Max.
Oh my goodness.
This is why
Seb
they'll
and Lewis
never
may
do
be
it,
doable.
though. This is why they'll never do it.
Oh,
They
but
just
the
don't
box
want to
office,
manage
Lawrence.
It would be huge.
It would be huge.
I mean, if Max is doubling the constructors or the championship points of his teammate, they even if they crash into each other every other race, they'll probably still win.
And this is what we talk about. You know, when we're talking about Checo, and Checo's a very competent driver. He's not a Lewis Hamilton. The idea of having a Lewis versus a Max in the same car, gunning for it, like gloves off, who's the best? 1 season, let's go.
Well, we said it mid-season, didn't we, that the 2 drivers who we would think could take it to Max, and Checo said 90% of drivers would sink against him.
Yeah.
And we said Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
As the 2.
But there's not really. In the end, it's a lovely idea. There's not that much in it for Red Bull because they're winning so easily now with a partnership that is good. It's just for the Red Bull. They're a company that love pushing the envelope, don't they? They love doing this sort of thing.
It's been a triumphant return so far, Jolyon, but producer Joe is telling me to move on.
Okay,
so
I'm off.
It's been lovely, but we're going to talk about Alpine now. Esteban Ocon with a P4 from way back in the grid. But it seems those 2 teammates have switching fortunes in racing. One weekend, Pierre is right up there, one of the best weekends of the season in Brazil. The next...
Oh, and Gasly was fuming with the strategy.
Yeah,
absolutely
exactly.
fuming. And he got on the radio at the end and he said, I told you the tyres were gone. I told you this wasn't going to work. Slumped down and dropped out of the points, having started P4, whereas Esteban starts way out of the points and fires his way up. I thought Esteban drove beautifully in Vegas. Some of those moves he was pulling off through 2 and 3 were majestic. It was great to see, but there's not many points between the 2 teammates coming through now into the final race, and really for them it's just about pride between the 2 of them at season's end. Yeah,
for sure. We'll move to Aston Martin then. Another great performance for Lance Stroll in P5, and actually Aston Martin, I kind of figured that battle for P4 would be up the road, McLaren just taking it and moving ahead, but Aston Martin are holding on, aren't they, Lawrence? They're holding on to this, and that P5 has, for Lance Stroll, another points finish for Fernando Alonso as well after that podium in Brazil. It's put them right in contention, just 11 points in it.
Yeah, I think if you would talk to anyone at Aston Martin during that period of time where McLaren, I think, got 5 podiums on the bounce, they would have admitted it's gone. Like, McLaren had pulled away and nailed P4, and there've just been a couple of off races for the team where things haven't quite gone to plan, and Aston have found something with their car where they can just get a little bit more out of it. They've gone to tracks also where they're a little bit more comfortable as well, but also Lance has just been a bit more consistent. When was the last time that we saw Lance get 2 consistent results, 2 5th places this time
from
around?
the back of the grid.
Exactly, really fighting his way through. And we've seen too many races this year, I think, where he hasn't had the rhythm. For whatever reason, something's gone wrong. The team will come out and something's gone wrong. So for him to have 2 results and then get those 2 strong results, I think it's great for him.
But McLaren, obviously their rivals for P4, they were saying to you earlier, through Andrea Stella, they're thinking they're second fastest here.
Yeah,
they're taking it to Aston Martin.
There's real confidence that this track layout really suits that orange car, and I think that's maybe why they weren't so disappointed when they went to Vegas, that the results kind of went that way, because they knew coming here, all things aside, they can get a really strong result here, and they know that they've got Lando, who's going to want to come back and build on that frustrating result that he had in that big crash in Vegas. Oscar delivered a really strong performance there, and if he didn't have that contact with Lewis, he was on for a really good result. I think he was up as high as P4, had to pit obviously for the other compound to make sure he fulfilled those regulations, but actually on a track they thought was difficult, they performed really strongly, and yeah, they're really, really excited about the prospect here. Lanzo's talking about a podium here.
I think Oscar's the man that's got to step up now, because remember how good he was in Qatar, won the sprint, was rapid, and at that point had Japan as well. Him and Lando were neck and neck in qualifying. They were really pushing each other on. It's not gone his way. The triple header and Vegas was more bad luck, and the McLaren car in qualifying was bad. But this is a track that he knows from Formula 2 as well. We're back onto a track that everyone knows quite well, and I think Oscar's got a chance to really press on, because at the moment, the last few races without Lando, McLaren aren't really scoring big at all. He's been the one that really driving it. Yeah,
Lando's well and truly stepped up, and we're very glad he is okay as well after this big crash that we saw from him in Vegas. I think we could take a second look at it now. Chaps, one of you guys can take a look at this for us. It was a big one, wasn't it? Saying it's a bump in the road at this point in the track?
You could see it on that replay there. There was just a moment where Piastri's McLaren sparked out, and then over that same point, Lando crossed and just bottomed out, lost the car. Cold tyres, probably lower pressures, the car running high fuel. These things happen on a street circuit. And I don't think, if you watch it here, you see the sparks from Piastri. That's because that McLaren's, that's just bottoming. And Norris just hits it harder with more G. You can't save that as a driver. When it goes, you know, he's very capable of holding big slides.
It's an oval crash. Car snaps and you're in the wall.
Yeah, and it comes so quick there. It was just, I think it was an unlucky one, really.
Yeah, he looked a passenger in it, just nothing he can do. But we're very glad that after, of course, precautionary checks in the hospital, Lando was okay. He is here, ready and raring to go. We can hear from him now.
Hey, Lando, good to see you. Just firstly, how are you feeling after that?
Great, I've never felt better.
Vegas? But generally, you feel all right?
No, genuinely, I've never felt better. Thank
Good.
you.
Okay, that's good. How are you feeling heading into this weekend? Tight battle with Aston Martin for that P4 and the Constructors.
Yep. No, I'm excited. I always enjoy driving here, but you know, the car's in a good spot. Oscar did a good job last weekend on Sunday. I was watching, you know, as I flew away in the helicopter, strapped down. Looked like a great race. So it was, yeah, a shame to miss out on it. Of course, we lost out on a few points to Aston, who had a good result. But I hope that was an abnormal weekend, and this weekend we can return back to normal.
When you look back at the season as a whole, 7 podiums, 6 of them P2s, what do you reflect on it? Are you happy with roughly how it came back to you guys in the second half of the season?
Yeah, I mean, since then we've been... Actually, I've not looked at the stats since after Vegas, but until then we were the second highest scoring team, or maybe highest scoring team and second highest scoring drivers. So you can't ask for a lot more, and I'm happy with the turnaround that we had since Austria. The team have done a great job. We made some big steps forward, the biggest we've made in the last 5-6 years that I've been part of the team. So I'm proud of the turnaround we've done. Of course, we know we still want a lot more, and there's a lot more that we need to do in order to compete against Red Bull and Ferrari and Mercedes at times. But we're close to never at the same time. So yeah, we'll keep working hard. But I'm proud, and I think it's been a very good season.
Great stuff. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
It really has. More than a handful of podiums for Lando Norris. And if he actually is feeling his absolute best here, it could be one more. We'll wait and see if that McLaren pace translates out here to race pace in Abu Dhabi. Moving on to AlphaTauri. They're ambitious, aren't they? They're looking good, Will. Talk us through it.
Last weekend of the year, upgrade. I mean, it's a massive role, and if that upgrade works half as well as the last upgrades, Yuki Tsunoda told me today they're expecting to be top 8, which is huge. Absolutely huge. He was talking to me today about how proud he was of the team, how difficult the season's been. Car was horrible at the first half of the year, but then when the upgrades started to come, the progression in terms of competitors moves forward, and of course they've had a revolving door on that second seat, and he actually paid tribute to the work that Nick de Vries had done in the first half of the year in nailing down the issues with it and helping the team isolate what they needed to change and how they needed to change it in the week where Nick was confirmed for Toyota in the World Endurance Championship, who are world champions there. So yeah, I thought that was nice. I thought it was really nice of Yuki to sort of reference that and reflect that. But my word, in that battle, in those final 4 teams, for 7th place in the Constructors, AlphaTauri, if it works, might just have played an absolute blinder.
And that would be the perfect Christmas present for Franz Tost, who is departing as team principal, one of the longest serving in the sport. We will say goodbye to him at this race. And Lawrence, you've got a bit of a scoop here on Franz, haven't you?
Well, he told us last year what he was doing on Christmas Day, that he either works on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And he was signing sponsorship deals last Christmas Day. So what's he going to do this Christmas Day when he's, you know, finished work at AlphaTauri? Well, he's got 6 projects that he's going to be working on next year outside of Formula One.
What?
He said he's going to be busier than he's ever been on Christmas Day. He has no intention of having Christmas dinner with his wife. I was like, Franz! I was like, Franz, it's Christmas and you finished work.
He has no chill.
Why didn't you just
Absolutely
enjoy
zero
yourself?
chill.
He was like, no, I want to be busier. And he also intends to watch every single session next year without fail. He promises to watch everything. He'll have all the data. The team are going to set him up with all the data at home.
Oh my goodness.
How cute is that?
Well, I hope on F1 TV, and we will say hello to him on
We'll
each
have
and
to
every
send him a
session.
That's his Christmas
subscription,
present from the
do we?
team.
We'll
It's a
give him a
login for
subscription.
F1
There
TV.
we
We'll
go.
get Franz a login for F1 TV. Done. Okay, talking of the battle for P7, let's hear now from Alex Albon in that Williams.
Alex, what a year it's been for Williams as we stand here now looking back over it, and still so much to play for in this last race. How do you reflect on 2023?
I'm very proud of it. I feel like as a team we've most likely exceeded a few people's expectations. We seem to make the most of our opportunities. I think that we made the races where we were there for points counts, and likely that's what separated us from the midfield pack that are hot on our heels for the whole year. But no, it's been very good, and I think I'll look back at some of the races this year and be very fond of them.
How does the team take the next step? As you said, you were competitive at the races where you knew you could be competitive. How do you turn that into every race?
Mostly by identifying our key issues in our car. I think it's not like we're scratching our heads and don't know why we're quick. We know what kind of corners, what kind of temperatures don't suit our car. We have a clear plan in place. We've been, since Canada, focusing on next year's car. So I've been in the simulator driving next year's car more than I have this year's car since then. So I think I'm hoping we're going to make a bigger step next year than we made this year.
Oh, Alex Albon as eloquent as his team principal James Vowles, who, by the way, is on Instagram now, so do get following James Vowles, as we are witnessing an amazing light show here over the Yas Marina Circuit, and that is to signal the return of Alex Jakes here to the studio. The Yas Marina Circuit lit up as Alex joins us. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Yeah, they spent quite a lot of budget on that entrance, didn't they?
They did.
Not as triumphant as Jolyon, but pretty snazzy.
So you got the light show. So.
Yeah, exactly. 1-1.
How much are you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I think this is a great place to go motor racing. It's become synonymous with the end of the season, and there's still plenty up for grabs. So yeah, looking forward to it a lot.
And look, we're talking about Williams, just as you joined us. Disappointing for them in Vegas from so much promise and so much speed on those straights. The safety car coming out at the wrong point, but also admitting they just didn't have the pace. This battle for P7 will go down to the wire here. How do you think they will fare when you've got the likes of AlphaTauri saying we could be top 8?
Even if they are top 8, they've got to put both cars in the top 8. I know we're contractually obliged to talk it up, but I think if Williams have a solid weekend, Williams are going to be okay. The thing is, you've got to do it under pressure. You go back 1 year ago, Logan Sargent nearly fell apart trying to get the super license points, getting to Formula 1 here 1 year ago in Formula 2. So when the pressure's on, it can get a little bit messy, but I think Williams will be just about okay.
And Lawrence, coming to you on that, Logan Sargent and his seat, it's the one remaining seat available in the Formula 1 paddock, but in recent weeks we've seen an upturn in his form, and you're thinking that could be set for 24 now?
Yeah, I think we've seen, in terms of his confidence, the way he's carrying himself, we've seen an upturn. When you talk to people like James and senior people in the team, there's an upturn there as well. They wanted to give him till the end of the season to prove that he's got what it takes to stick around in that seat next year. And yeah, from what I'm hearing, he's nailed it. I think, there aren't anyone queuing up behind him trying to knock on the door, trying to nick that seat, and Logan's done what the team asked him to do.
First time in Formula 1 history.
This is a nice little stat. Go on, Will.
I believe it's the first time in Formula 1 history that we've gone from one season to the next, and there will be no changes in the driver lineup at any of the teams.
If Logan secures that seat. It's a good stat. I like it.
It's a very good stat.
OK, we're going to go quick fire then. Who do you think is going to be on top? I know you don't want to big up this fight for P7, but I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
okay?
no, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. OK, so Williams, you're saying solid weekend, they could do it. Jolyon?
Yeah, Williams will. I think they will do quite well as well this weekend.
Haas, Alfa Romeo, where are they going to be?
Where they are. Williams, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo. Okay, Haas aren't going to score points, are they? They're miserable at the moment. Haas aren't scoring. Alfa Romeo are not going to score. It's AlphaTauri v Williams, and I think Williams will hang on.
Jolyon, Lawrence, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Williams are just about going to hang on, but I do think an AlphaTauri will be in the top 5.
We've not done well bigging this up, have
we? Not particularly. Will, come on, man.
Brought a rocket ship. Podium for AlphaTauri. No.
Haas and Alfa Romeo, though, do you think that they're simply going to...
Well, they are where they are. Between the two, between Williams and AlphaTauri, I don't know. That last upgrade was so good for AlphaTauri. If they take another step and they get both drivers in the top 10 and competitively in the top 10, Daniel's been looking okay. I think it's going to be closer than these guys think it will. And then Williams dropped back a place in the Constructor Championship, which gives them more development time for next year, and they absolutely scream into 2024 with a vastly improved car.
The only way we get change is if there's bad reliability or carnage ahead, because I think there's enough big teams that will beat those guys, and AlphaTauri won't beat enough of the big guns with both cars. But end of season, mileage is high now on these engines, all these components. If you have a few retirements from the big teams, someone else has a little incident between a Ferrari and Mercedes fighting in the constructors, and then suddenly you get a Tsunoda or Ricciardo coming through for a big result. Yuki's done it before here. That's when something can happen, but on pure speed, I don't see it changing.
Just 14 points is the gap between P7 and P10. We could be in for some carnage. Who knows? We'll wait to see what happens. Every single point vital to those teams in the bottom 4 of the constructor standings. Vital as well if you're looking for your F1 fantasy. I've got to say I've given up. I had a couple of shocking weekends. Last weekend I didn't think I'd changed my team, but I had changed it. I didn't know I had, but I had originally put in I had originally had Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton in, and had I kept then it would have been mad points because of all the overtakes. I think it wasn't. So I'm officially bowing down to Sam Collins. I have come 5th, last, bottom, but I'm already preparing for next season.
Nice.
Get your team sorted for this one. We'll see who will.
You get the most research time for next year now.
Huh?
You get the most research time for next year.
Perfect, that's how it works. Great. Okay, predictions. Alex, I'll come to you first.
I'm going to go for underhyped driver Max Verstappen to get another win, and Lando and Charles, my top 3.
Nice, okay. Jolyon, go on.
Yep.
Oh,
same.
Good Lord.
That sounded good. Well, obviously, it's going to be Max, isn't it? I think Checo will have a podium, and I could see Lando. I'll swap Checo out for Checo in for Charles.
Okay.
I hadn't really given it a lot of thought, to be honest, but there we go.
You don't say.
Jakesy sounded good.
We do it every week, but crack on. Okay, Lawrence.
I'm going for Lando win, Max second, Checo third.
Nice. I like that's the kind of energy that we expect on weekend.
I think
I'm
Lando's
surrounded
got
by
it
experts.
this week.
You guys are saying some great things. I'm just listening.
Will.
I'm going for a Checo win for all my friends in Mexico. And then I'm going to have a Lando P2 and a Lewis P3. And Max will get his first DNF of the season.
Oh, okay. Do you know, I like Lawrence Barretto's prediction. I'm going for a Lando first win here to bounce back from that crash in Vegas.
Nice.
I like that. I'm going to go for a Max and Checo on the podium as well. I don't know what happens to Ferrari, but something happens. We'll see.
They're where they are.
They are where they are.
They are where they are.
Thanks, Jolyon.
As a we.
Thanks, Jakesy.
Really prophetic. Started triumphantly, it's ended really badly, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's tailed off slightly. Fantastic. Let's take a look at the schedule, how things line up for this. Our final race weekend here in Abu Dhabi. So our first practice, we're on air at 1:15 to build up to a 1:30 FP1, and then on air once again at 4:45 ahead of a 5 p.m. FP2 here as the sun begins to set in Abu Dhabi, a twilight race this one. FP3, that's 2:15 on air to build up to a 2:30 p.m. third hour of running ahead of qualifying. Our pre-quali show will be at 5:30, qualifying at 6 p.m. and the post-qualifying show, of course, immediately after. And we move to our final race day of 2023. I can't really believe it, it's gone so quickly. That will be on air for our pre-race show at a 10 to 4, a big bumper show to bring you to the end of our season. And the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix starting at 5 p.m. The post-race show, our last one of the year, immediately after the podium. My thanks to Will Buxton, to Lawrence Barretto, to Alex Jakes, and of course to Jolyon Palmer for all of their insights here as the helicopter flies over the Yas Marina Circuit. And indeed, the lights shine. We'll see you tomorrow for free practice 1 and 2.